Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakrin here with attorney Holly Waltman. Thanks so much for being with us, Holly. So, of course, we are just watching. We are waiting for this decision to come down from Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee on whether he will disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. You know, as we've been reporting to you, it's expected that that decision is going to be coming out by the end of day tomorrow. Still hasn't happened yet, Holly, but there have been several new developments that have happened, actually, including Governor Kemp signing a bill into law just today that essentially tightens oversight over district attorneys, prosecutors in general, and also 6 of the 41 counts against not only Mr. Trump but his allies have now been dropped in the election interference case here in Fulton County by this judge. So, Holly, based on what's happened, what's your opinion on what we could see happen in terms of, will Ms. Willis be disqualified?
Yeah, certainly. So, Joy, one of the things that I think is most important to remember and consider when we're talking about Judge McAfee is he's fairly new to this position, right? He was appointed not so long ago by Governor Brian Kemp, and we don't really have a lot of history to point to what we think he's going to rule like, or what he's really finding valuable in considering his fact-finding position in this case. Now, as far as the 6 charges that have been removed from the indictment, now I don't find that to be surprising at all, right? Right now, the defense is not in receipt of any discovery that the state has provided them. It's not the appropriate time. It's not when that sort of thing happens. But what they have been provided is the indictment. So it is not a surprise to me at all that those have been the attacks that have been waged from the defense and put before Judge McAfee to decide, is this indictment specific enough to put the defense on notice of what they are to defend their clients about? And he has found that 6 of them were not. So I think that these things are somewhat mutually exclusive, right? The dismissal or the decision to dismiss some of these charges procedurally is about the indictment. It has nothing to do, and it's completely separate from the motion that Ashley Merchant filed on behalf of co-defendant Roman.
Okay, so we've been talking about all the disqualification hearings and really what Judge McAfee has to decide. And you reminded me just kind of before we came off camera that this is really a 2-part decision. He has really 2 decisions to make. One has to do with just whether Ms. Willis and her team should stay on the case, and another has to do with all the charges. Of course, part of the motion was for all the charges to be dismissed. You said to me off camera that you think this could actually be kind of a split decision. Can you explain that?
Yeah, certainly. So again, the defense is asking this judge to decide, is there an improper relationship that rises to the level that robs their clients of their right to a fair and impartial trial? That is the first prong, okay? If the judge agrees with the defense on that portion of their motion, then he has a remedy to remove the district attorney of Fulton County, including Ms. Willis and everybody in her office that might have worked on this case. Now, where it goes from there is yet to be determined. So that would be granted in part, right? If the defense get what they really want, which is granted in full, meaning they not only remove Fulton County DA Fani Willis in her office, but they also have the entire indictment tossed out. That would be a huge win for the defense. I don't know that we have reached the burden that that's going to happen. I do believe that if that was going to be the position that this judge was going to take, that would have been an order that he could have easily put out a week ago, right? It would be a short order, and it would be a very clear, I agree with the defense 100%, therefore I'm granting their motion in full. I think we could see or anticipate perhaps him splitting the baby, granting in part and denying in part, or a full-out denial based on these new decisions and the level of detail that he put in his order regarding the suppression or the demurrer portion of the indictment where he dismissed 6 of the charges.
Yeah, I mean, but it seems pretty clear. If he dismissed 6 of the charges, he's not going to dismiss all the charges. Otherwise, why would he, go ahead and separately dismiss those, right? If he knew he was going to dismiss all the charges, he would have just waited and dismissed them all at once, right?
Well, certainly that's logical, right? And that might be the way that your brain works. That would definitely be the way my brain works. Work smarter, not harder. Why would he put all of the detail into this order? if it was not going to matter, given what we anticipate will be his ruling on the Roman motion in and of itself. So again, I want to point back to, we don't have a lot of track record for this judge. He is new in his position. I do think that he has done an exceptional job listening to details, and we kind of heard that during the closing arguments, right? He was asking questions of both sides that kind of hinted or gave us indicators of where his head was and what he was looking for. So I do think that if we were going to see a full grant of this motion for the defense in their favor, then I think you're right. I think it logically would have made sense to put the resources and the time into that order and hold off on this one that we now recently have.
Okay, so, I hesitate to give my own opinion because I feel like it's not really my place. But we did, in this case, I think I'm going to share it to some extent. My thought was that if he were going to disqualify Miss Willis, that he also would not have gone ahead and dismissed some of the charges. To me, it seemed that it would be sort of, that maybe in a way was sort of a move to maintain neutrality, that he's giving some to kind of the defense side, and maybe what they're not going to get is to get her removed. What do you think?
So again, this is a case of first impression. He does not have a plethora of law or established precedent to point to say this is what judges do in this situation. We've never seen before this sort of precise and unique case. I do think that we will see a lot of thought given into what he's going to do. Again, hard to say where his head is because we don't know him that much as a judge. I will say, of course, the goal of any judge, any good judge rather, is to remain impartial, to not appear political. I think it is noteworthy, with that being said, that he does face opponents and he is in an election season to save his job that he was newly appointed to, as is District Attorney Fani Willis as well. They both face opposition, fairly newly noted and ran opposition to keeping their jobs in the fall. So certainly staying neutral is at the top of this judge's mind right now.
Yeah, and so, I guess that's why I wonder if we may see in some way that the decision was favorable to the Trump side, to have those 6 counts dismissed, but maybe not favorable, of course, if they don't get what they want, having Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade removed. But when it comes down to what the ruling is based on, obviously they've already admitted to having a romantic relationship. There's some dispute on each side about the timing, and interesting that actually they've said that the relationship has since ended. But it seems that the question is really not just whether they had a relationship, but whether Ms. Willis inappropriately benefited from it, financially benefited from it, or maybe even Mr. Wade in some capacity. Do you think that wrongdoing can be found, but yet found not to be essentially relevant to the case?
I think that's a possible avenue that this judge could take. Again, there is not really a checks and balance. There is not really case law in Georgia or really on the nation on a federal level that say this is what judges do when these sort of situations occur. I will say this, as to getting a fair trial for your client, which is something that defense attorneys, myself included, are absolutely adamant about. And in order to get a fair trial for our client, you also have to, as the judge, and as Judge McAfee is sitting in his position in this equation, he has to ensure a fair trial to the state. I think that it would be of the utmost importance and perhaps a power move of the DA's office to withdraw their office from the prosecution of this case. If justice and truth is truly what they're interested in, just the image of impropriety or image or intuition of being improper in this situation gives rise to them probably handing the case off to another office to review. The other thing that I think is noteworthy, Joy, is this indictment may not be the last indictment that we get in this case. If the judge and the defense is able to chip away at the state's indictment, the state's essential roadmap for this case, and they're able to do that significant times or in significant ways, the state could choose to abandon this indictment altogether and bring an entirely new indictment with new charges. They could leave RICO off this next time. They could keep RICO and change some of the co-defendants on the case. That second indictment is always a possibility and a tool that the state has in their arsenal.
Yeah, no, I so appreciate it. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
I think that I hope that we hear before the end of the week from Judge McAfee on this, and I hope it doesn't cause any undue delay for either side. I know the state has an interest in getting this done quick and efficient. I know that the defense has an interest in kind of dragging this out and making this a long, tough road. So I certainly feel like every time I'm here with you, there's definitely new stuff developing that we get to report on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Attorney Holly Waltman, for joining us with your expertise and analysis, and just letting everyone know that if you haven't yet done so, download our free Atlanta News First mobile news app. Whenever that decision is reached, we will send out alerts. You'll get notified right on your phone. It's also a great place to get not just breaking news alerts, but weather alerts. That's super helpful. So just go to atlantanewsfirst.com, or you can download our free Atlanta News First mobile news app. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.